Hey comic fans, this is John, host of Video Games in the World, and today's comic book review is Marvel Civil War. Now, this graphic novel, Marvel Civil War, is my favorite of all the graphic novels of Marvel that I've ever read before. It has an intense storyline, and also I really loved how they adapted it into a live-action movie that was released last year called Captain America Civil War. Yeah, there are some things I liked about the movie more than the graphic novel, but the graphic novel, it's like the ultimate gem I have ever read of many gems of the Marvel Universe. Yeah, I'm not just into DC, but I also like Marvel. I'm not that kind of comic book reader that wants to inflame a fanboy war, because fanboyism is not really my thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin with this review. Enjoy! It all began in the peaceful neighborhood of Stamford, Connecticut. A group of small-time heroes known as the New Warriors are filming a reality show and are ready to fight stronger supervillains in order to get their ratings up the roof, and most likely get a name for themselves in the hopes of working with other big heroes like the Avengers. Unfortunately, their stealth is compromised and they begin to fight the villains inside a house. Nitro runs away to a warehouse, but he is attacked and pushed into a school bus by Namorita. Near the bus is a playground full of school kids. When Nitro glares at Namorita, he says, "Well, I'm afraid we're not the bargain basement losers you are used to, baby." You're playing with the big boys now. And then tragedy strikes when Nitro explodes like an atomic bomb, destroying the neighborhood, and the deaths are mostly children. When superheroes such as the Avengers and the X-Men come to help find survivors or bodies of those that died in the explosion, Goliath and Captain Marvel agree that with all that's happened, such as the Hulk destroying most of Las Vegas and Wolverine threatening, things have finally reached a boiling point and there will be a witch hunt. At the funeral held for every victim, a woman called Miriam Sharp spits in Tony Stark's face and blames him for what happened. While Stark responds that it was the New Warriors who were responsible for this, she angrily asks, "Who finances the Avengers? Who tells these kids they can live outside the law wearing tights?" However, things get worse when Johnny Storm tries to enter a club with his girlfriend. He's jeered by an angry mob and proceeds to beat him, leaving him in a hospital. The government then introduces a bill called the Superhuman Registration Act. This bill will require every superhero to reveal their identities and work with the public. They will be given paychecks, paid vacations, health benefits, and so on. Refusal to register will result in jail time. This causes a division among the superheroes, leading to the Civil War. It's Avengers against Avengers, and things will not be very pretty. Now, I gotta say that the drawings on the panel, including the cover of the graphic novel, were very well made. I loved how realistic in some way the characters very looked, and also the fight scenes were intense. The drama was also phenomenal. The story was also very well written and planned out. I gotta give Mark Millar credit for such writing an epic story on how certain events can cause the world's greatest heroes to turn on each other. It's kind of reminding on how people follow some ideas that sound really good when in fact they do not at times. And there are others who do not agree with these ideas, and they can see right through the facade of an idea that sounds really good, or an ideology if you like. During a time when I was getting more and more into comics while watching most movies based on them, one of my friends suggested that I read this graphic novel. When I read this, I was blown away and seeing how tragic the story was, but nevertheless, very epic. Now, the Superhuman Registration Act reminds me in a way of the Mutant Registration Act in X-Men. When I read about that, I was like, oh crap. Of course, because we all know that Marvel has registration acts that can cause problems among superheroes, such as compromising the safety of their existence, their loved ones, and so on, because those who are normal human beings and are not like, do not have the genius intellect of Iron Man or the superpowers of the X-Men will hate and fear what they don't understand. I still remember also one of the most tragic moments in the graphic novel, and in this one we learn that something can cause teams of heroes to fight one another, no longer fighting for a cause. They were just fighting. Now, when I read this, I was always on the side of Captain America because I am not a fan of the kind of authoritarianism that is the bill of superhuman registration. I'm not a fan of government having control over your life. Of course, there are people who prefer that the government have control over your life, while others prefer that the government has less control over your life. But as you read this graphic novel the way I read it, you realize that Iron Man doesn't like the idea either, but he supports this bill in order to dismantle it, as he says in one part of the graphic novel. The fights were epic, and not to mention how at the end there could be a glimmer of hope for a better future away from the Superhuman Registration Act. So finally, to wrap this up, I enjoyed not only this graphic novel but also the movie adapted from it. Although the movie has its differences, such as calling the Superhuman Registration the Sokovia Accords, I think this graphic novel is better in many ways though. The fight between the superheroes was spectacular, for once, rather than saving the world from alien invaders, time-traveling conquerors, and masters of evil, this story is like a battle between heroes due to the actions of some people on the side of good and others on the side of evil. Although most people blame Maria Hill because she tried to take down Captain America in one part at the beginning of the story in order to make sure that he doesn't oppose the bill, I would say that the New Warriors are at fault, but I know what people are going to say. Hey, the New Warriors are not at fault. Yes, they acted recklessly, but Maria Hill is at fault for trying to take down Captain America. Yeah, blame who you want, but that's how it is. My final score for Marvel Civil War is an A+. That is all. Until next Monday, comic book fans, this is John, host of Video Games in the World. Have a good one. Later.